We're very pleased today to have as our guest Dr. Simone Heil, who is a program director for the Middle East and Africa at the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation in Bonn. She is also an expert on German-Israeli relations and more specifically on German-Israeli youth exchange. And it's about that we want to speak to her today. So welcome to AICGS. Last year was the 50th anniversary of German-Israeli diplomatic relations. The relationship, of course, began earlier, but diplomatic relations happened in 1965. Youth exchange actually was part of that earlier stage of relations before diplomatic relations. And would you agree that this indicates that civil society was a major player in German-Israeli relations as expressed through youth exchange?
Yes, of course. The German-Israeli youth exchange was really a success story in building relations after the horrors of the Holocaust between Germany and Israel at that time. So the youth exchange actually started already 10 years prior to the establishment of diplomatic relations between Germany and Israel. So the first German youth groups came to Israel in 1955. And by 1961, already 60 youth groups from Germany had arrived to Israel. And these German youngsters were really pioneers in reaching out to Israelis and trying to work towards reconciliation and also to portray a view of the new Germany.
If we look at the period between those first visits and today, how would you suggest that youth exchange, German-Israeli youth exchange, has changed over that time?
So especially in the 60s and 70s, the topic of the Holocaust was very much in the center of the preparations of the discussions among youngsters in Germany and Israel. That was really the center, and this has changed a little bit. So in the 90s and 2000s, the topic of discussions between Germans and Israelis was more about, for example, the Middle East conflict or about the hobbies and interests of the youngsters. So it was not so much anymore the Holocaust. But also, nowadays, the Holocaust still plays a central part, of course, in the German-Israeli youth exchange. So it's always an integral part of the exchanges to go to a Holocaust memorial site or to go to Yad Vashem in Israel to have, commemorations there together, and this can be very, very powerful. And the imbalance also of the victim-perpetrator relationship becomes very, very apparent in these ceremonies. So it's still very, very powerful, but it's not anymore, so much in the center of the discussion. So this has changed, and the Middle East conflict, especially since the 1990s, has become more, has come more to the foreground during the exchanges. So this becomes very apparent, for example, for the German youngsters going to Israel, or the security measures which have to be taken, and also Arab Israelis and Palestinians have been integrated in the youth exchanges. So the trilateral exchanges between Germans, Jewish Israelis, and also Arab Israelis and Palestinians have become quite popular, and they are meant to kind of underpin the peace process between Israel and the Palestinians at the time. Yeah.
Would you also say that the youth exchange has become more institutionalized? Mm-hmm. There is now this organization,
CONACT,
exactly, that makes the German-Israeli youth exchange somewhat similar to the Franco-German and the German-Polish. Yes. Not as institutionalized, not as large, but still it does have its own institution now.
That's right.
Would you say that that's also one of the changes
since
the 60s?
Yes. So a mixed commission was established back in 1973, and CONACT was established in 2000. So yeah, it became more institutionalized, and also the state funding has increased over the years. And in total, since 1955, more than 500,000 youngsters from Germany and Israel have been participating in the exchange program. So that's a lot.
That's a large number, 500,000.
Yes,
that is indeed a lot.
Yeah.
And what would you say is the purpose of German-Israeli youth exchange today? I mean, obviously, as you've described it, the parameters of the exchange have changed. And what is the purpose of youth exchange today?
Well, I think working through the Holocaust still remains, you know, a very important aspect, but other aspects have come to the foreground as well. So in order to stay relevant, of course, the youth exchange has to address also other issues, such as the integration of foreigners, environmental issues, career perspectives of young people. So these are all topics which are dealt with and will be dealt with in the youth exchange as well.
And looking forward, how do you see youth exchange between Germany and Israel developing in the future? Do you think it will have the same significance, or will it grow, or will it dwindle? What is your perspective on the future?
I think it will stay significant. There's interest on both sides to keep this exchange going. Especially on the Israeli side, people are very much interested in going to Berlin. Youngsters are very much interested in exploring Berlin and Germany. On the German side, there has also been, you know, interest in participating in the exchange, but there has been a growing kind of criticism towards Israel and Israel's policy towards the Middle East conflict, and so some people are hesitant, or especially the parents are hesitant sometimes to allow the children to participate in a trip to Israel. So so I hope that it will not result in decreasing numbers from the German side. But I think in order to you know, stay relevant, there need to be other topics such as, you know, the integration of foreigners and other aspects which are of interest also to the German youngsters to go to Israel. One cannot only focus anymore on the Holocaust issue.
So all in all, over a 60-year period, you would presumably suggest that German-Israeli youth exchange has been a success story.
It has been a success story, yes. It has reached so many people, and I think it's very important also that it does not remain an elitist project, that not only people who can afford to go to Israel and Germany can take part, but that also more minority groups can participate in a trip to Israel and Germany, and also other socio-economic strata can actually take part in the exchange, because it's very important to convey a realistic picture of the other country, and so also other strata of society should be involved in the exchange, and it's happening. So it's not only a certain elite which participates anymore as it used to be in the 60s and 70s, but I think this needs to be even more further developed.
So that youth exchange in the end reflects the diversity of
the
German
societies.
society, but also Israeli society,
Yes.
not only Ashkenazi Israelis, but also Sephardic Israelis and Israeli Arabs.
Exactly, yes, yes. So, you know, also the Germans get a more realistic picture of Israeli society. So this is a very important aspect.
Well, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.